BaconBit.
Oh, that was so peaceful.
Yes, I've been waiting all this time.
It took a long time for you to say that.
Hey, it would have been really nice if you had showed up during this issue.
I was told not to say it.
Skybeam and New York.
Yeah, there have been a lot of Skybeams, sir.
Sokovia.
I've been told to wait until right now to say
There were Accords in Sokovia.
Hi.
and Honda Civics.
We are reviewing Eternals.
Marvel's Eternals.
Marvel's Eternal. Are there other Eternals? Is there another movie out there called Eternals that I don't know about?
Oh, probably now in Redbox.
Did Lord?
You know what? Right,
did Lord sing a song called Eternals that I need to know about?
Asylum Studio always makes something
never
that
be
has the same name.
Eternals. The saga of the Eternals, a race of immortal beings who lived on Earth and shaped its history and civilization, is the synopsis.
Did you just make that synopsis?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
The saga of the Eternals, a race of immortal beings who lived on Earth and shaped its history and civilization.
Zach, please participate in this show, and I want you to be very curious because you didn't see it.
I'm just going to step back and let history happen.
Look,
and do nothing about it.
How many of the Phase 4 Marvel movies have you seen?
How many are there?
There's Black Widow.
Nope.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Nope.
Eternals.
Nope.
That's where we're at.
Over
That's
3.
Phase 4.
But you've seen some of the TV shows.
I watched WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Because it was clever.
That's Wonder Woman.
And I watched 2 episodes of Loki and some of What If.
Yeah, you're good. Okay, so we're going to move right into our review. Honestly, do you have any care or consideration about these characters at all?
The funny guy's in it. What's his name from the Cancer movie?
Yeah. Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
The funny guy from the Cancer movie.
That could be either Kumail Nanjiani or Seth Rogen. You choose.
Oh, that's true.
He said funny, so it's Kumail Nanjiani.
It's Kumail Nanjiani.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, we're going to be giving our spoiler-free.
Joel and I will be reviewing this movie.
Sorry, Zach. Kent and I went and saw this without him. But you saw
he really cares clearly.
But no,
I did see a much better movie. You're right.
At the beginning here, we are going to be doing our spoiler-free version of this, our review, and then we're going to move into our spoiler.
I feel like the child that has to pick between parents, and I go, hey, if it's a huge blockbuster, I'm taking Joel, right? but hey, if it's a better film, I'm taking Zach.
No, it's really what it is if it's rated R, you're taking Zach.
That's
like I said,
true.
Better film. but Joel and I, we have been going to Marvel movies since the get-go almost.
Since
I think it was
Bacon Cell, I almost feel
no, it was because Thor the Dark World was one of our first experiences.
Yeah, floor popcorn.
Floor popcorn indeed. And so now we're here at the 26th MCU movie.
I'd like to point I haven't done anything to embarrass you since that time.
No, that's why we still keep going back to floor popcorn, and that's why you keep getting invited.
Yay! You're saying if I would continue my floor popcorn?
No, honestly, that gives me more material. I wish you would keep doing stuff like that.
Maybe I will. Maybe I'll bring something.
And so I cut you off. I'm sorry, but we are doing the first half of this will be spoiler free for all of those of you who may be excited about this movie
and haven't seen it yet.
And then our final half will be spoilers.
Yes, we'll let you know distinctly when we're going to give spoilers, so you won't be caught off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Is the guy from he's in Game of Thrones and Rocket Man. He's in this movie.
Yes, Richard Madden.
Yeah,
he's got
an interesting face.
What do you mean by that?
I cannot decide if he's handsome or not.
So
Rob Stark from Game of Thrones.
Yes,
yeah.
Actually,
there you go.
Truth be told, when he popped in the movie, I thought it was the Winter Soldier.
He does look like Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian Stan, that's it. For a bit there, it took me a second to be like, oh, no, different guy.
Because all those white guys, they all look the same.
But then this movie has the audacity to also have Jon Snow cast in the movie, who's played by, what's his name? Kit Harington.
Yes.
Kit Harington, yeah.
And so Kit Harington is in the movie, and what's his name? Richard Madden is in the movie. And so these are two characters who are in Game of Thrones, and they're together in this movie, and that was just weird for me.
Zach, who's more attractive, Rob Stark or Jon Snow?
Save it for our Game of Thrones show.
Oh,
we already had one.
Oh, that's right.
Depending on the lighting, Rob Stark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jon Snow, he's a little bit pasty.
Yeah.
His facial hair doesn't quite match his face.
Save it for our show.
We're
talking about Eternals. So Zach gave the...
I don't want to talk about Eternals, clearly.
Zach gave the IMDb synopsis. Can you give a little more non-spoiler general what this movie's about?
Yeah, so this movie spans 7,000 years. That probably says it in IMDb.
Well, it is actually that long. No, it's 156 minutes. My mistake.
Okay.
2 hours and 36 minutes long.
So it's fairly long, but it spans so many years, and so it shows this team from its inception to where they are in present day. Yes,
with
Zach?
certain tenets.
Yeah, certain tenets. No, we're not making any comparisons there.
Oh.
But it's basically...
You said Inception, he said Tenet.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So we're not... Yeah.
We're making Nolan jokes now.
But we shouldn't in this kind of movie.
Okay. Did you bring him a mental home from the movie, Ken?
But then, when they bring in the Prestige...
The Dark Knight over here. That's not even a funny joke.
It's not at all. But they are told to stay back. They hold back when the Earth is under crisis.
Because in the very beginning of the movie, it says in the beginning, which I was like, oh, we're getting Bibles.
Yeah, there we go.
No, it's at the very beginning of the movie, it says there are Eternals and there are Deviants. Like the Eternals are these beings of light and goodness, and these Deviants are kind of dark at the darker side. And so the Eternals are essentially told from the Celestials, don't do anything unless it involves deviants. Don't waste your time with all these other things that don't matter. Only if deviants attack do you engage.
Right. So an inciting incident happens where the deviants come back.
Yes.
And so the Eternals have to get involved.
Yes.
And save the planet and possibly the universe.
Unless some of you, I'm not going to spoil it, but unless some of you were like, well, how come they didn't come when, this happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? They kind
over-explain.
They over-explain it, where they almost look into the camera and be like, look, audience, this is why we didn't do anything before. So,
Yes.
Because that is the biggest problem with all of these team-up movies.
Yes.
That's why how on earth could they possibly now have X-Men? As if mutants have been around the whole time.
Yeah.
We're hoping that will be the Spider-Verse, all that kind of stuff, right?
And that's the only way that you can start to bring these in, because the idea of someone being around that could have stopped all of these things the whole time is frankly, it's absurd.
Yeah, but Thor's off-world and Hulk can't change like that. Like they justified that before.
Yeah, it's like Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier is they're all being spies. So
you're exactly right, though, Zach. That's the problem with this shared universe is that you're always like, well, where's this character? Where's this character?
Whereas the Eternals, they are essentially the Justice League. These are what we know of as Greek gods.
When he says Justice League, I'm not kidding when I say that there's literally a guy who can fly and shoot laser beams from his eyes. Oh. And they literally, one of the kids...
There's a depressed orphan who wears a cape and cowl.
Oh, no. You're Superman. He says to this character in a Marvel movie, you're Superman. And he says, oh, I'm not Superman. And
at another point, they say, oh, just like Alfred.
Or Batman.
Yeah.
They say Batman. So there's
but it's fine. It's fine.
There's these weird references to DC that I went, is that okay?
So the defining...
They have enough money to pay for that.
The defining characteristic, I think they're just going to buy DC. The defining characteristic about this movie is directed by Chloe Zhao, who directed last year's Oscar winner, Nomadland.
Nomadland.
Which was a good movie.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
And so it's like, hey.
But she did this before.
Before she won
Nomadland.
the award.
Yeah.
This is made after Nomadland, but before she got big with the award.
Okay.
So they basically tapped an indie director to make this. And she has like a vision, right? And it may suit certain movies, and that's fine. But they obviously are going for scope here.
Are you jumping into your review then?
Yeah, I'll jump right into it. They are going for a movie that spans so much time, is very panoramic, can balance a lot of characters, and it also fits within the Marvel Universe. And it does none of that. It does nothing. It doesn't look good.
Your opinion, but okay.
Yeah, it's my opinion. It doesn't look good. Like
it doesn't look good?
No, everything's grayed out.
They used like so many real places.
So they did, but guess what? It's all a beach. They use one beach essentially for 5 different locations.
Did anybody get unnecessarily old on said beach?
No. Actually, that would be worth watching.
Okay.
Crossover. I'd watch that crossover.
But there is just as much exposition.
Oh, no.
And so my main problem with the movie is, because there's positives here, my main problem with the movie is that there are 7 or 8 main characters in the Eternals. And when they kind of get together, they do a Muppet movie sort of thing where they need to get the gang back together, and they explain the inciting incident to each person individually.
Oh, no. Okay.
And so this movie, like I was sitting there going, I'm not a film editor, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. But if I were, I edit audio, I would edit this scene to go with this scene and make this movie 45 minutes shorter.
Credit where credit's due. I think that the Marvel movies have shown they can balance a lot of main characters.
Correct.
Yes, as in Endgame, as Infinity War.
Infinity War does it.
Okay. But guess what?
Even like Guardians or whatever.
Guess what? Lead up movies to that, because now you have Athena, Icarus.
But even Guardians of the Galaxy,
Cersei.
They jumped into that, and they managed to make people care about a talking tree.
4 or 5 main characters. This one we have 8 characters without charisma. That's totally what we have.
No, Chris Carpenter was in a different movie.
Yeah, who all react poorly to this news of this inciting incident. Whereas this movie is dull. And then when finally you're like, oh my gosh, there's one of these space lizards that they're going to fight. I got excited. I'm like, there's going to be action. And then they show the action. I go, oh yeah, I also don't care about this because they're fighting viney space lizards or wolves. Like it just, okay. Right? Am I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And I sat there and I go, I should like this because it doesn't quite fit into the other Marvel movies.
It's very different in tone and structure.
There's not as many one-liners right after an action.
It's almost bereft of humor.
Yes. And there's
it's darker. And I thought, honestly, I'm kind of surprised because I thought being more like a DC movie with DC type characters,
I could see
you would
that,
like it.
But it just had none of the charisma. None of the actors actually seemed to care that they were there. I think this movie was made for diversity reasons, and that's about it. And it was made to maybe bring in more of the cosmos into the Marvel Universe, which I think is a cool idea. This is a Jack Kirby comic, which is a very colorful world that comes from. But somehow they lost all of the color when they came into this. It just felt very uninspired, didn't fit in for me. I mean, I could go on and we will for spoilers, but none of it felt real. Like, for example, all of their weapons and abilities were glowy swords or glowy gloves or laser bolts.
Yeah, they each had a different power.
There was nothing in this movie that actually hit. Like, when they're fighting bad guys, it's kind of like when they're fighting a fight scene, no one's actually making impact. The whole movie felt like that. Huh. This movie made no impact with me. I forgot about it quickly. Mm-hmm. It's far too long.
Grade?
D+.
Whoa.
Ooh. Honestly, I was sitting at C-. I'm like, D+ is mean, but as much as I care about this movie now, I've rewatched all the Marvel movies. This is one I never want to watch again because I was that bored.
Do you think Marvel
get roasted for this?
Do you think Marvel fans will like it?
Yeah.
Though
they will want to like it because it seems more artistic, but it's actually less.
It's less.
I think Chloe Zhao was ill-suited for this kind of movie.
Huh. Okay.
I think this movie is ill-suited for the Marvel Universe. It's way too many new characters, and they don't balance it out well.
Oh. Okay.
Joel,
right.
I can't wait.
Joel?
Please, so you can totally disagree with me because I should be.
I went into this kind of like, I'm not really liking the angle of, oh, hey, why weren't they helping out before?
Right.
That did bother me. And I do like a lot of the cast, but I was kind of like, oh, really? We're going to be like Selma Hayek? She's not a great actress, but, we'll see in the lead. I was really surprised by this movie.
Okay.
I was really surprised by this movie.
Okay.
Because Ant-Man used to be my least favorite. Now this is my least favorite.
That build-up.
That was great.
I did not like this movie.
That was a good Joel joke.
That was a good Joel joke.
I did not like this movie.
I'm not shocked, but I'm a little stunned by that joke itself.
Well,
Go on.
I didn't want to give it away right at the beginning because I was so, as we were driving home, there were so many things I wanted to say, so many things I wanted to bash on this movie because I kept being like, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Why are they doing this? I was so bugged by so much of it. It is far too long. Yes, they're trying to cover 7,000 years of history, but it is far too long.
With flashbacks throughout, Zach.
Yes. But the thing is, even with all that time, the story is crammed in and not well. Like, this isn't like, here's some information revealed that we didn't know before. It's like, like you said, we're going to repeat the same thing over and over and over again.
Don't you think we could have got a montage of them being like, here's where we met the guy?
They could have done it Muppet style.
Totally.
Like, that's one of my favorite parts of the Muppets is when he's like, why didn't you show my story? And it's like, hey, you want to join us? Sure.
Yeah, totally.
And that made me laugh. The opening paragraphs were confusing enough. Like, it starts going and I was like, wow, I'm already kind of annoyed about this show because they're trying to cram so much lead into this. And then they wasted so much time later on. I'm like, why didn't you just build that in there?
Just say somehow Palpatine returned and move on.
That's all you need to say.
And this movie is a downer. Like, it is almost bereft of joy. When Kumail Nanjiani comes on the screen, you're like, oh, thank goodness. We're going to get some humor. And his humor is good. It's not his best work, but it's good. And that was kind of interesting. But he's also underutilized in this film.
But like, be honest. How good does he look?
You don't know.
Surprisingly enough, he doesn't take his shirt off. Oh, spoiler alert, I guess, for that?
No, you don't know.
Then what's the point?
No, it doesn't make sense.
He got ripped.
I will say Gilgamesh was a funny character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like,
who plays Gilgamesh?
Ma Dong-seok.
I'm so sorry I asked.
He is from Train to Busan.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's a burly guy, and I liked his character, even though no one really had any real role there.
And then, I mean, as a parent, as the family-friendly guy here on Bacon Cell, I go into this being like, do I want to show this to my kids? Every movie I do that. I don't want to show this to my kids. There is a sex scene,
The first ever
in a Marvel movie. It's very tame by world standards,
right?
But in a Marvel movie,
it's out of place. It's so strange.
It's mostly barebacks. That's all you see, and it's just kind of awkward because the whole time I was like, why? What? We don't even need to see this at all. But they showed it to be like, ooh, look how edgy.
Guardians.
No, I don't think so.
What am I?
But anyway, and also I was just kind of surprised by that. Also, I just felt like the whole time I'm like, kids would not enjoy this. Kids aren't going to like this.
No.
Like, and even fun-loving Marvel fans are not going to like it because people go to see these Marvel movies to have a good time, not to have existential crises. And you have that during this movie where you're kind of like, well, what is the nature of man and what is good and bad? And I really disliked that part of it where I was kind of like, the whole movie just kind of bothered me, and it kept bothering me. Like, it felt like the filmmakers were more concerned about checking boxes than they were creating a good story.
Totally.
And that I was like, no, this isn't good. You should have. The powers were inconsistent. They had varying levels of strength depending on what the script demanded. It's like sometimes you punch them and they're fine. Like, this guy gets pushed through a mountain, he's fine, but he falls from a great height. Oh no, is he supposed to be hurt? I don't know. And so that really bothered me. The creatures also had varying levels of power. Their powers were all different, but they were all the same. They jump around the world without really explaining why and how. The comedy was inconsistent and not that funny. I just spent the whole movie kind of being like, as it kept going, I kept being like, is this really phase 4? Like, Shang-Chi gave me hope for phase 4.
I agree.
This dashed those
And now
hopes.
looking back at Shang-Chi, I would give it a higher grade based on this movie.
Yeah. Overly complicated plot. I think maybe I'll say it. I think the Eternals probably should have stood on the sidelines a little bit longer.
Oh, absolutely.
Got their act together before giving this to us.
So the two leads in this movie are, as you said, Richard Madden, who plays the Superman type character.
Yeah.
And then the lead is Gemma Chan.
Yeah.
She's from Crazy Rich Asians, and she's also in Captain Marvel as well. Mm-hmm. And she plays like this lifeless character that is so unrelatable.
Kind of the protagonist type.
But she's sad and dour the entire time.
She's not a character. I don't even remember her name, to be honest.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Angelina Jolie is being touted as being one of the main people. Not
sideline
really.
Character.
Yeah.
So overall, I gave it a 2 stars because I do believe there were some visual things I enjoyed here.
How did you feel about the landscapes?
I enjoyed the landscapes, but I didn't want to say then. But you are right. It's these beautiful landscapes, but it's mostly these 2 landscapes.
It is cool that it is practical, quote unquote.
Yes, if you wanted more practical effects, I liked that.
Until the end. But yeah, it is. Yeah. It just felt lifeless. Even the action for me, there's no real villain because they have so many central characters that they don't balance out well. And then they're like, that's a villain too. These veiny monsters, they're kind of villains.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was sloppy. It was sloppy and unpleasant.
Unpleasant even.
Well, because like I said, I want to have a good time when I go to these movies.
Yeah.
And there is a time and a place to have those deep thinking movies where you're like, okay, let's get into this. What should they do in this situation, these heroes? But in this one, I was like, no, you should have good guy, you should have bad guy. Mm-hmm. Good guys outsmart bad guys, the end. And not that I want simplicity either. I guess it wasn't what I wanted to see in Marvel Phase 4.
I feel that this may be something that if they can pick steam back up, they will reference this movie in the future to make it better.
Kind of like they did Age of Ultron?
Yes, based on what it does for the universe itself, because it's a far-reaching story.
And they do create some plot lines that can't be ignored down the road.
Also, they create plot holes for the reason why they should have gotten involved in the first place.
We'll get to the spoilers.
Yeah,
Can't brought that up.
Spoilers. So just basically, as far as it connects to the Marvel universe, is this essential viewing? Does it feel... I know it doesn't feel like it should be there, but is this something that you would have to watch? And does it feel like it connects to the Marvel movies?
It feels like a side dish where it's like you have your main dish over here with all the Marvel stuff, and this is over here that makes passing reference.
They reference DC more than they do Marvel.
That's probably true.
It will be essential, but it doesn't feel essential yet.
Yeah.
Like compared to Thor: The Dark World.
Which they have also, Marvel did that, where they said, we're going to keep referencing Thor: The Dark World so that you have
Make it
to
feel
watch
more
it.
special.
But this feels like a new low point that they're going to have to do that with. I don't know if they have some grand plan that they're going to tie
think this
everything
movie
back.
gets a sequel. I think some of the characters will be used. I don't think it gets a sequel.
Well, we should get into spoilers before we get into that.
Yeah.
Well,
Zach, you want to see this movie?
not at all.
I really was disappointed because I when it first came out, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. But then I went, you know what? This could be fun. And then it just disappointed me. Fell flat on its face.
All right. Is this spoiling an eternal flame?
I was just going to go, and now we'll get into spoilers. Because the Royals joke earlier.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Where do we start?
Let's start with
the very
fact.
beginning. In fact, in the beginning,
Yes.
they tell this story as if it's just another eternal story because they say there is this God robot in space.
Yes.
that
Six-eyed God
he
robot.
sends them on missions, and there's one
Jeffrey
mission.
Wright?
Yeah,
From
but
What If?
There's
He's
one
a celestial.
There's one mission
not a watcher.
that they don't quite trust, and you're like, so now you're just giving us the whole movie because this whole movie is the one mission where they just realized they couldn't trust the space god. And I was like, oh, so there's this it feels like an issue of something, but it spoiled the entire thing because you're supposed to learn that you can't quite trust these space gods.
Yeah. And like you said, Ken, there's no real bad guy. They have so the whole point, Zach, let's get in the meat of the matter
Nitty-gritty,
here, Ken.
yeah.
The meat of the matter is these Eternals, their thought is that they're protecting Earth, when in reality the whole plan is that kind of like Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy 2,
Kurt Russell's hair.
it's fantastic.
Beautiful.
But these Celestials, these giant space robots, they have planted their seed in various planets throughout the universe. And then in order to get those seeds to grow, the core of the Earth is a celestial embryo, essentially. And once you get enough people on the planet, it feeds off the people on the planet. And then the celestial can come forth and start creating new worlds.
So if you remember in Transformers The Last Night, I don't know if you saw that or not, but
did.
Unicron,
You have self-esteem.
Unicron
Why
is
would I do
encrusted in the planet Earth. And if Unicron needs to escape, Earth is destroyed.
Yes.
Same plot as this movie.
But the whole existential crisis
The
comes
Earth
in.
is just a big egg.
Yes.
Yes, one of many, but because of Earth being destroyed, this new celestial will be able to create a whole bunch of new Earths and a whole bunch of new people. So it's the question of, do we sacrifice ourselves so that billions of other people can live?
So these protectors are meant to but save people. So there will be a mass population which gives energy to the inner core of the Earth so the egg can be hatched. And so we're waiting.
They are basically farmers.
Like, they don't get in the way of wars. Like, we still do our things. They will help with some technology. That is shown in the movie.
Yeah, there's one
Just
guy
to-
whose job is to introduce technology.
Just
Did
to
they make
advance-
vibranium?
No,
No,
but they
but
do cause Hiroshima.
Yep, they do reference Hiroshima. Well, no, first he creates a plow and then he creates Hiroshima.
Yeah, and
And-
he's there in the ruins of Hiroshima, and he says, "What have I done?"
He's like, "Oh, humanity, I will never give you more
"It
technology."
is one of the most tasteless scenes I've seen
It was
all year."
really tasteless, like really
and I
bad.
just watched a bunch of Halloween movies.
Yeah. So then they have this whole crisis of like, do we save the Earth and all the people on it because we've fallen in love with them, or do we let the celestial come forth and then he creates a whole new race?
Right.
Of,
So Earth will die for the benefit of many other planets.
yes, but then they come up with the ingenious plan, and I am getting into the end here, but we'll jump back.
Sure.
The ending, they're like, no, we can't kill him because that is the new thing of superheroes. No, we cannot kill bad guys. And then they said, we'll just put him to sleep forever.
It's like Batman all of a sudden.
Worse than Batman because they're
We
literally
will take him to a ranch.
That's
good.
They're
Oh, good.
literally though. They're like, no, we can't kill him, but we'll put him to sleep forever. And I was like, point of order.
Yeah.
If he's asleep forever, what's the point of him even being there?
So it
Because he
is
might
interesting.
thaw and go after Sylvester
No,
Stallone.
they turn him to stone.
So it is interesting because you have this cosmic God saying, "Well, do my bidding," because that's what you guys were put on Earth for.
Yeah, you think
but then they want to rebel
because
obviously.
you think they're independent beings that have like done all these missions, but turns out no, they're just kind of synthetic
Robotic kids. Yeah.
beings. Which, if you're creating this group of synthetic superheroes, you would make one of them hearing impaired because
It's 2021. That's why.
there's a hearing impaired superhero.
Well,
I had no problem with her until all of a sudden they're like, no, these were created as protectors of Earth, and I'm like, then why would you make a hearing impaired one?
it's 2021.
It doesn't make sense. Why would you make a young one? There's one
Yeah.
that's young, and she has an issue with that because she's like, I can't grow up. I will never grow up.
So attractive in certain lighting, Rob Stark is there to play Superman, and he is a very lifeless character, and he is there to help guide Gemma Chan throughout this movie and kind of
we
go.
don't even know their names. We're just giving their actors' names.
He is meant to say, "Oh no, look, so and so died. It must have been a deviant," and it's not even a red herring. It's like, well, obviously he's bad. Like clearly we know he's the one behind all these deaths because he's still trying to
I didn't pick up on it.
Even from the first one where he's like, it must be a deviant.
No, I
just thought the acting was so bad.
I thought it was just bad acting.
Oh yeah, precisely, right?
And then it wasn't until a little later. I did get it before they revealed it, but it was one of those things where I went, okay, you got me on that one.
I hate when when bad acting makes its way into a movie. You're like,
should I trust him?
Is the character acting bad or the actor acting badly?
Right. And so he is the one still doing the mission of the Celestials. And I know it's confusing to say Celestials and Eternals and all that, but he is the one kind of fighting against the Eternals who are trying to save the planet, which is rebellious.
Yeah.
So he is the one who becomes the big bad in the end.
And maybe it's just because I watched Doctor Who. But it really did seem like the rehash of, no, this planet is worth saving, and I will save it. There's good people on here. Let me show you the goodness of the earth. And
that is half of the Doctor Who episodes.
Yeah.
Also, remember that scene in Breaking Dawn Part 1?
Oh, no.
Where the werewolves start mind talking?
Yeah.
That's the end of this movie as well.
Oh, it's bad.
Because they hack into each other's minds using their pyramids or triangle spaceship.
Uh-huh.
And involuntarily, you can just hack into someone's mind and then turn, hack into the brain of the Celestial in the earth and then turn them into stone at some point.
You want to know why? Because modern blockbuster movies like this can't go without the earpiece.
It is, it's
all of the the Avengers.
It's a heavenly earpiece in this movie.
It's
define earpiece for people.
So when you see Avengers and they're going around the city
touching their ears and
puts
talking,
his finger to his ears, they never actually added earpieces, but they kind of said they just have them, right? It's the way they communicate.
It's the same thing.
They're Bluetooth.
The last few Bond movies have done the same thing. James Bond is never alone anymore because he's always got somebody in his head.
Even with the EMP going off, it's fine.
It's the new, it's this new screenwriting trick to get your characters to separate because there's too many characters in a movie.
And say an action out loud. Say, I need to do this out loud.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Zach, I want to run something by you.
Okay.
So let's imagine that there's this team of superheroes who have worked together but then had a falling out.
Been there.
And then you piece them all together, but they're still not quite fitting together because they have issues with each other based on previous history.
Therapy.
Okay, so they're kind of fighting, but they're kind of coming together. Okay. And then near the end, they all start breaking apart. Like, no, this isn't working. They all start going their separate ways.
Yeah.
And then one character in particular is like, I'm out, and he leaves.
Oh.
And then they go fight the big bad. What happens?
The other character that left is the Deus Ex Machina. And
Han
back and saves the day.
You want the Han Solo moment?
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. But Kumail Nanjiani says, I'm out, guys. He leaves. He's not in the final battle
so
at
he
all.
Actually says, I'm okay if the Earth gets destroyed because that's what's meant to be. And then when the Earth is saved, he's like, okay, cool. Are we still friends?
Yeah. He comes back in it after all the action is over, after the epilogue, to make a joke.
Joel, I think what that is intending to do is give a character arc. I think they're trying to make these characters deep.
Arc.
Well, it's not, but I think they're trying to give them different opinions. So it seems like this team is this unconventional family.
But he was an egotistical guy at the beginning of the movie. He's an egotistical guy at the end of the movie. There was no arc.
Right.
There was no arc.
Doctor Strange?
Kind of, except worse.
Well, Doctor Strange has a personality and charisma.
He has charisma.
But he has no arc.
No, that's true.
He has an arc.
I'll watch him in a movie happily over any of these people.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I actually like that movie.
Yeah. And then, so Selma Hayek is she's the boss on Earth. And this is the spoiler alert.
Known for her work in Wild Wild West.
Yes.
Go on.
And Hitman's Bodyguard.
And From Dusk Till Dawn. But
all great films.
But she ends up getting killed. And that's the big inciting incident that brings everyone back together. That is the
it's like
comedian.
our aunt died.
That is the comedian in Watchmen getting killed.
Right, exactly.
But not as good. Because then she lives in South Dakota, and they keep going.
No wonder no one found them.
Right. But they're all spread out. Because they show throughout history, when they've influenced history, we're helping the Mesopotamians or whatever.
Right.
Did they do a cool a montage sequence in that first Wolverine movie?
Hold on. Pause your thought real quick, Joel. Get back to it. But they don't do that. But whenever they save people, like ancient people, what they do is they save them, and then all of a sudden they stand in triangle formation.
Yes.
5 times in the movie. Being
the hero formation.
We're the Eternals.
Is that how they do the Men in Black Mind Eraser thing? Or?
No, they don't erase it.
They actually...
They're the gods that you hear about in history.
Yes. That's probably the best part about the movie is the legends created around these characters to become the gods we hear about today.
Which they sort of did with Loki and Thor.
Yeah.
Sure.
In previous movies.
Kind of, but they did it better there too.
They're balancing way too much. But Joel, go back to your thought.
So Selma Hayek was the boss, and she has this golden orb. that is in her throat. It's not visible, but it comes out every now and then and shows them a map and lets her communicate with the Celestials.
This is not the MacGuffin.
No, it's more like a cell phone.
Oh,
Yes.
cool. Okay.
This is how
To a
they
cosmic
communicate.
god.
It's the big giant head in Third Rock from the
instead
Sun.
of Apple, it's Adam's apple. Go on.
You're so confusing.
We are. So she dies, and then when Gemma Chan comes over and it's like mourning over her body, the golden orb comes out of dead Salma Hayek's throat and then goes into Gemma Chan,
Gulp.
choosing her as the next leader. And then at one point,
Oh, like the Green Lantern.
so then they're like, she communicates with the Celestial and realizes, oh, this is the actual plan for the Earth. And then the tech that they're talking about, like, oh no, this is so bad. And the tech guy's like, well, if I could get that orb, maybe I could harness that vibranium. It's not vibranium, but that type of thing where it's like, if I can get that thing, I can create this whole other thing that we can then fight the Celestial with. And she's like, okay. And they're like, okay, but to get it out, don't kill her, okay? And they're like, okay, I won't. And then they kind of just hold their hand out and it just comes out. And Kent leans over to me and said, super easy, barely an inconvenience.
You know it's going to show up in the pitch meeting for sure.
That really was one of those moments where I kind of went, yeah, you're exactly right, Kent. That was way too easy for how they built it up is going to be, it's going to be dangerous.
I thought it was going to be, the way you were explaining it, I thought it was going to be like the Santa Claus with Tim Allen, where Santa has to fall off a roof to get it.
Yeah.
What it does, the best thing it does is possibly what it may create. It will make a character like Galactus seem believable. Because these cosmic gods...
I thought that's where I was going. I thought it was going to
truly.
Galactus.
Yeah.
But like when
they need to do.
When the Earth is threatened, there's a scene where you're like, oh, wow, the sky just parted and this cosmic god is upset.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
And
oh
it
my
caused a
gosh.
sonic boom that maybe only affects London. We're not sure.
Right, we're not sure. But I was like, hey, Galactus may finally be like on screen and believable, because remember when they did Fantastic Four 2 back in the day, they only had like the space cloud essentially coming to destroy the planet because they didn't believe a giant could ever threaten planets or it would look dumb. I think now they have the effects that they can do it. It's just this is the wrong vehicle to launch that.
Yeah. Ken, why don't you tell Zach and the listener about the huge plot hole that you figured out about this movie?
Oh, so the whole core behind opening up Earth's core, behind the egg hatching, so Unicron can finally come out.
With the Matrix power cells of people.
Precisely, is based on how many humans there are on the planet. And now that we're above 7 billion and however many, there are finally enough humans to provide energy so that this thing can be birthed and destroy the planet itself.
Yeah.
Okay? So the Celestials are like, cool, we'll just wait till that moment. That's fine. But we'll fight back when there's some space lizards attacking the planet because they may eat a few people. But guess what? What happened like 3 years ago? Snap. Half of the universe is gone.
Which they addressed that in the movie. They said, well, how come you didn't help us when Thanos then? They're like, we were told not to intervene unless it was deviants.
Right. Even though that affected the birth of this Celestial.
That
instantly,
backtracked the entire thing.
What do they call it in Spider-Man? The blip.
Yes.
So the blip happened. I guess
And
the blip is when they come back.
It's like they went back halfway.
Which their excuse was, well, it wasn't a deviant. But I'm like, no, but the behind the scenes is
You
the
lost your
Celestials
population.
Want population, and that directly affected population
half of it.
Yes.
in the universe.
Half
the
of all
whole
life in the
universe.
universe.
And we have people with the powers of the Justice League, like literally the powers of Justice League, that could have prevented a whole bunch.
Oh yeah, by the way.
There's a stinger.
Oh well, Angelina Jolie, she's crazy in the movie, where she'll occasionally try to kill everyone.
I feel like they were going for a mental illness plea with that part, because essentially she gets the rage. Like,
they call it space rage. Or something
she basically
like that.
gets rabies.
She's been living too long that her brain is starting to break,
and so she wants to kill her friends, and so she needs to be like put out to pasture and like separated from everyone just because she has this illness.
Like Xavier and Logan. Like as she ages, she becomes unstable.
A little bit, but it's more like she's just tired old Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
and she is kind of a threat, but not the grand threat.
No, she's not. And that's the thing. She doesn't. It's not like she's getting worse at controlling her powers like Xavier and Logan.
Yeah.
It's more like
a wild card.
Every now and then, she just suddenly turns on them, and it's because her brain is broken.
It's not much of a role. I'm not going to lie.
No, it's actually no. But then one of the characters is like, no, we can't.
But
put
she's
her out.
the only one
we
with
can't,
star power.
We can't put her out to pasture. Everyone, they all have the same power. Some have the energy to make gloves. Some have the energy. She's the one that makes energy into spears.
Yeah.
Some shoot energy, but it's all the same basic power. It's just different forms of it. But anyway, one of the what's his name? You said it before. Gilgamesh.
Yes.
Is that his character's name?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Gilgamesh. Yes.
But
with the
he
punching.
says, no, we can't kill her. I will take care of her. I will go live in the woods with her, and I'll make wine from my spit. or beer for my spit, whatever it was.
Hilarious. So
So
funny.
it wasn't good. Like it really wasn't.
Oh,
good.
but guess what? Guess why people are going to see this movie? And it's going to be super buzzworthy this coming weekend. One of the stingers is a pretty big deal. Are you ready?
Is it?
What? Yeah. Yes.
No, I'm remembering.
Okay,
I'm remembering the Jon Snow one.
I'll lead into it. The Jon Snow one is super boring. That is a tease to a tease. So there's the scene. Okay, I'm just going to spoil the stinger because we're in spoiler territory. So there's only half of the Eternals because the space god got really mad after they saved the planet, and he's like, "Nope, sucked you up, right?
So he snapped him.
I'm going to snap
No,
you
he
guys."
took them away.
Yeah, he took them away. So the remaining ones were like, "Well,
took him with him.
even though we kind of just barely gave up and said we're going to leave for a little bit, now we have to go fight to get him back." Then all of a sudden, portal opens up in the spaceship, and this little goblin guy comes out, this little leprechaun. And he goes,
Oh, that's right.
and he's like, "Oh, you don't know what I'm doing here. Allow me to introduce your new best friend." And then all of a sudden, from out of the shadows, Harry Styles walks onto the ship.
You know him from that band, and then he becomes solo. It's
Yeah.
Very directional. And he is Eros, the brother of Thanos. And he is there to cause some chaos.
And
he's just swagger.
This isn't like purple Josh Brolin.
No,
effects.
it's Harry Styles
literally
on a
Harry Styles in a
weekend.
costume.
Harry Styles on the weekend.
And the voice, who's the voice of the Goblin? Was it Seth Rogen?
I thought it was Seth
No,
Green.
Patton Oswalt.
Was it Patton Oswalt?
I think it was
Okay.
Patton Oswalt, yeah.
Ugh, even worse.
Is it?
Yeah. Harry Styles will now be the brother of Thanos
And then
and helping the Eternals in the
Zach,
sequel.
If that didn't get you excited enough, listener, if that didn't get you excited enough,
Zach's face right now.
Jon Snow, Kit Harington's character, right as he's talking to Jim Anderson about Jim Anderson?
It is, yes.
Yes.
Jim Chen.
Jim Chen.
Jim Anderson is way better.
Different one,
Yeah,
yes. But he's talking to her and he's like, I've got a very interesting family lineage that I need to tell you about. I just found out about it. It's very interesting. And then she gets kidnapped by the giant
Cosmic god, yeah.
Yeah, by the Celestial. And then he's like, dang it. And then it goes to black. And then at the end of the credits, after we see Harry Styles, that huge reveal, it shows Kit Harington in a room and he opens a box and there's a sword there. And then there's a gust of wind and then it goes to black.
Because he's going to be a super too.
But we don't care. They kept teasing characters I don't care about, and I think most people don't care about.
What are we? Some kind of Eternal Squad?
But what is he? What's the Black Knight?
A Martin Lawrence movie, Black Knight.
No.
So,
Yeah, his name is Black Knight.
There
Yes.
It is
is-
the Black
yeah,
Knight,
it is, yes.
which is a comic book character maybe some people know about.
Lesser known, obviously.
there is
yeah.
precedence for this, though, right? Like that's how Avengers, which is hilariously small in scale now when you think about it.
But at the time, it was like, ooh, all
Well, are
these
you saying for a team-up movie?
But yes,
But think about what had been established.
yes, I'm just saying. Looking back now, it's like, oh, cute. There's like 5 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now all these movies are huge. But isn't it at the end of Avengers, the stinger there is we see
Thanos.
And everyone's like, huh,
Who's that?
is that Hellboy?
Well, but and that's the thing is like I had this conversation.
Yeah.
This is one of the times we actually let our guard down and talked about it for a little bit because I said I guess they kind of did that before, and Kent was like, no, because like even with Nick Fury coming to Tony Stark at the end of the first Iron Man movie and saying, "Let me talk to you about the Avengers Initiative," even the uninitiated of what the Avengers were could go, "Oh, they're going to form a team."
Yeah,
And with-
I'm excited by the possibility of this.
And with Thanos appearing at the end of the Avengers, it was kind of this, I'll take care of it myself, or was that just a smile? I can't remember which one.
Yeah, it's just a smile.
He just smiled.
But even then, it was kind of like, oh, here's the new big bad for this
Yeah,
group of
it's
heroes
a
we already
threat.
know. This is teasing heroes and maybe villains that we don't know or care about. I don't know. It felt different. So,
Harry Styles
Okay, guys.
will be the biggest news of this movie's release.
I hate that. I hate when
It's such gimmick
stingers
casting.
are the big deal. I mean, it was the same thing with the last Spider-Man. You know, it's
I'm trying to think of positives to say about the movie.
But the positives are potential. Like what they could do for expanding the universe at this point, which I honestly feel like the TV series with Loki and WandaVision have done enough. And Spider-Verse will obviously do a whole bunch too. Or not Spider-Verse, but No Way Home.
and then Multiverse of Madness.
But this could expand it into somehow the Fantastic Four and Galactus. And maybe Silver Surfer.
I guess.
So
I
it's-
know there were things I liked in the moment.
I do feel like Chloe Zhao maybe had too much independence in making this movie because it doesn't feel like the Marvel formula, and sadly is worse for it.
Yeah.
So not good.
So and that's because I don't know if I hated it. I did not like it though. I can strongly say I didn't like it. I don't know if I hated it.
Yeah.
because
It's pretty telling that you said like you wouldn't really want your kids to watch it yet. Though,
No. And I don't, like you said, I don't ever want to watch this movie again. It's far too long and far too grim, and it's, once again, there's loose ends and there's loose. It's not a movie that can really stand on its own because it's like, oh, this has to go somewhere. I hate that movies just can't end anymore. They're
be
afraid,
a movie. A
they're
singular
afraid to kill off
experience.
characters. They're afraid to get rid of good villains or good heroes because they're like, oh, we might want to bring them back one day.
Have a good villain, please.
Have an ending.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So at the end, Zach,
You think we're done talking about this movie? We're not.
It's a long one because it's a long movie. The celestial starts to come out because it's the Earth is ripe and they're doing this spell and one people have some of them have turned and the celestial starts to come out of the Earth, which huge being coming out next to an island and like his hand starts coming up out of the ocean. And I took physics in high school. I don't know if you know that. But I know that if you displace that much land and that much ocean, that's going to cause some issues. But they don't address it at all. It's kind of like you're turned to stone and there's this giant stone hand sticking out of the water and they're like, everything is solved. I'm like, except the tsunami in Chicago. So
It doesn't matter.
that bothered me.
Super easy. Barely inconvenience. Zach, let's go see this movie.
I'm good. I'm good.
Save for Disney Plus.
Yeah.
When you have a lazy Saturday and 2 hours and 45 minutes to watch
if you still
it.
want to watch this, yes. If you still want to watch this, that's fine if you want to.
Yeah, totally.
But I wouldn't recommend going to see it in theaters.
I mean, people will.
But why?
But even they know that critically this movie is not doing great. And so they pulled back even the box office projections, which it's a Marvel movie, so it'll still make money, but it's not going to make the kind of money they hope.
No.
Because Shang-Chi is a huge blockbuster.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but let us know. Let us know if you've seen this movie or if you want to see this movie on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Let's keep it spoiler free because this is a newer movie. But if you want to give spoilers and have a discussion that way, we also you can DM us, for example.
Yeah, precisely.
We'll be happy to vent about it there. But let us know. We want to hear it, and we want to know if you enjoyed this Bacon Bit about Eternals, which seemed to go on for an eternity.
We will take him to a ranch